Because we're back.
I'm feeling like a Kurd who's been displaced.
Oh my God. And
well,
here
it's not that bad. I mean, really. Okay. I shouldn't even say that because that's a horrible analogy.
It's like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you finish.
Yeah. Well, we're back, and this is happy fall.
Happy fall.
Happy 10th Democratic debate to you tonight.
Jesus Christ.
Happy Yankees. What are we? 2-1? One tied up.
Yeah, we're tied up.
Okay.
Are we tied up? Yeah, we're tied up.
Okay.
Yeah. Tonight's game 3.
Happy. If I could just mention for a second, my son Lucian Dixon ran his very first marathon the other day. He ran in the Chicago Marathon. Yes, I get to brag about this.
Shout out to Lucian.
3 minutes 25 seconds and 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 2 seconds, which is really good for a first time. So, yay, that's another good thing I've done as a parent. I didn't get him braces, but he's a good runner.
He's a good runner.
So yay.
Today, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced its nominees for the Hall Class of 2020.
And luckily for you, Courtney, you have somebody in the room who can speak on this.
Yeah.
Unlike everything else we talk about, I actually can speak on this with authority.
Okay.
And that is because you might know me from my career as an actual writer, but I have been a voting member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for maybe about 15 years. Mm-hmm. But I have been on the nominating committee for about 4 years, and I have been cleared to talk about this.
Great.
Because I asked, well, I haven't officially been cleared. I was just asked, I mean, it's not like I called somebody up, but they just said, don't talk about it until the nominations are out, because what are they going to do? Because basically, it's like Opus Dei.
Right.
It's like Fight Club. Mm-hmm. What goes on at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominating committee stays in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominating committee. But anyway, it's really cool.
I already just want to start out that I'm pissed.
I'm pissed.
And
I think they made a decision. I had to go early, early-ish, because I had to go teach. Yeah. And I feel like I don't remember Dave Matthews being on the ballot, but that's a whole nother discussion.
I was just like, okay.
Well, why don't you tell people who are on the ballot first?
Okay,
read off who's on the ballot.
So on the ballot this year, now listen, there's some people that I feel like
just read it and then we'll rip them to shreds.
Pat Benatar.
Love is a Battlefield.
No, come on, before Love.
I know. I'm just saying.
Dave Matthews Band, the Doobie Brothers, Motorhead, Notorious B.I.G., Soundgarden, T-Rex, Thin Lizzy, Whitney Houston, Judas Priest, Kraftwerk, MC5, Depeche Mode, 9 Inch Nails, Shaka Khan, Rufus Shaka Khan, Todd Rundgren.
Okay. I nominated Shaka Khan, but that doesn't really mean anything because she's been nominated before. But I just figured I'd say it again. 3
previous nominations. It is amazing to me that Rufus featuring Shaka Khan are not in there.
Okay,
it's amazing to me that Eurythmics still have not made it back on the ballot, and they should have been a first.
Okay, I will say one thing, and this is not to shut the conversation down because then we'll be having 45 minutes of blank air. But I can't believe and why isn't part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is it's either the world's greatest parlor game or it's like I can't believe that I am not fucking rich and have men dropping to the floor every time they see me.
This is supposed to be a room full of music historians, music executives, music writers.
It is. Fans, musicians themselves.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. With the exception of 1 or 2 people whose names I will not mention because I have to see them again next year, everybody who every nomination that came up was you could sit there and go, oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
Not even a question.
Right.
Nobody's nominating Terry fucking Jacks.
Right.
Though I was tempted, just as a joke. And then I heard that somebody actually did like a paper on him at like the pop seminar every year. And I was like,
right.
So there's not anybody coming up where it's like, you must be kidding me.
Right.
Okay? And there is a real dedication to try. You're walking a fine line in defense because you want to, on one hand, honor people who have come before because there's a huge bunch of people,
Absolutely.
and I'm talking about going back to the 50s who have not been acknowledged. And the problem is the further you get away from that, the less likely you are to remember It's like us with the Constitution. There's a whole generation of people who don't realize that we have separation of powers, but that's a whole nother concept.
People think the Constitution is one amendment, the second.
Right.
Like, the Constitution
and the first
right.
and the second. All right, but anyway.
Well, they're kind of skittish on that first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, yes.
That's a whole other
conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. But the problem is, and then you also want to appeal. Okay, listen. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a nonprofit. It's an organization. It's a museum.
Right.
Okay.
That it is.
It's also a show.
Yeah, that it is.
And it used to be a show back in the day before I was a voter, or maybe before I was like, where they were just like at the Waldorf and like,
for years it was at the Waldorf. Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's an actual show. So they're not that that's being taken into consideration in the room. It is not. People are nominating who they want to nominate, absolutely. And people put a tremendous amount of thought into it, and it is like the highlight of my year.
So when you go to when you nominate somebody, are you giving like a sort of speech? Or
you give a little spiel. You give a little spiel.
This is this person, and this is why.
You give a little spiel. I mean, basically the idea is that you're selling it. I mean, you're selling it. You're explaining why this person matters.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you don't have to sell if the Beatles were to come up, obviously they're in, but you don't have to do that, but you're selling it.
Right.
Like I said, there's never been anybody nominated. I might not like them. I might say they shouldn't be. Like, I take it really seriously. I take it when I was just a voter. I would take it like influences. So for me, for instance, and they agreed, the Beastie Boys could not be in before Run DMC. And the Beastie Boys said as much. They would not allow themselves to be inducted. So it's influences.
I get that.
So for me, as much as I think Whitney deserves to be in there, her fucking biggest hit, or second biggest hit, was a Shaka Khan song. So you're going to...
And the first biggest was a Dolly Parton song.
Right, but that's neither here. What I'm saying is they're right up against each other. And the problem is, like most niche music, which black music is still considered, which hip-hop is still considered, it's like, oh, we can only have one. So, but I will say it's like the most fun of all.
Is Dolly Parton in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think... the country is a weird area because country has a Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yes, they do.
So there is a real... it's not like she's never been acknowledged. There are country artists who have come up. I mean, is Emmylou Harris a strict... is Graham Parsons comes up?
Right.
I will say this. Okay, so I love it. It's my favorite day of the year. You get to see people you're really happy to see. You get to see people who fired you from jobs years ago, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
And... okay, I've told you my Dave Grohl story, the whole Dave Grohl story?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll say it again because it's so great. Okay, so obviously I love Nirvana. Nirvana's a great group. I think he's a really great musician. I like not all the Foo Fighters, but some of the Foo Fighters. But when I used to vote every year, in the back of my mind, joking around, go, okay, what's the one group that Dave Grohl will not be able to get on stage with? Because bless his heart.
Right.
But I was like, oh, I'm so tired of it. And then I met him, and he's like the mayor of Nicetown.
He's a really nice guy.
And he's tall. And knowledgeable.
Yeah, he's smart.
Smart and nice, and so I feel really bad.
No, it's really interesting when there are people like that you kind of, because I have a couple of people like that I've always been like, then you meet them.
And you're like, oh my God.
Fuck, you're like the nicest person on the planet.
Like the nicest person on the planet. Like, how did this happen?
Right.
Like, oh shit.
It's like,
I take back everything I ever said.
For 15 years, and now I'm sitting here like shit. You're like really nice.
Oh no, so nice. Like hug and kiss and happy to see you and listening to you. And
then there's some I'm like, if you fell down those stairs, I wouldn't be upset. But that's a whole other story.
But anyway, so
what do you think of this list?
Okay, first off, there's a lot of dead people on this list.
Okay.
No, I'm being serious. From a staging site, it's like you don't want literally dead air.
Right, true.
Okay. I think it's kind of a bummer.
I hate you so much.
No, you don't. You love me. I think it's kind of a bummer, and it was mentioned that Biggie is nominated and will probably get in, not in Brooklyn. This year, the ceremony is being held in Cleveland.
It's going back
so that's kind of a bummer because he really, he is Brooklyn,
I just hope if he gets in, which I'm pretty sure he will get in.
I think so.
I hope it's his mom and his kids who accept the
and not
award.
Puffy.
I mean,
Yeah, well, when you have somebody killed, you shouldn't accept the award.
Okay, no.
I mean, allegedly.
Okay, listen.
As long as Suge Knight doesn't accept it.
No, we go. Okay.
Allegedly. I didn't say kill. I'll just drop that whole thing. Okay, so who do okay, I'll tell you the ones that...
This show's so inappropriate.
I know. I just came from work. Let me tell you the ones that I'm like, you must be kidding me. Okay?
No, let's talk about Whitney Houston.
All right, let's talk about Whitney.
What do you think about a Whitney Houston nomination? Because I was having a conversation with someone this morning who was like,
The voice.
it was like, but she didn't write, she didn't produce anything.
That doesn't mean
it's
anything.
like, should she just get
That
in
doesn't
because
fucking
she was
mean
a great
anything.
singer? And I'm
That
like,
doesn't mean anything. Neither-
I'm like, but she made an impact. Like to me, I was like, I see both sides of that, but I'm like,
No,
she
writing
had
and
the
producing doesn't mean anything, because if that were the case, all the early girl groups wouldn't be
Yes, but you have
in.
to let me finish my point.
Okay.
So my point is, I think that her voice just set a standard for voices.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? And yes, she did not write anything, and she didn't produce her records. But there's a whole generation of people who were influenced by that voice.
And she Whitneyized any song she took on.
Absolutely.
I mean, as I love Dolly Parton's version of
Yes,
"I Will Always
so
Love
do
You,"
I. It's amazing.
but it's very rare that you can have one song, two different artists, and they're both equally as important.
And completely
I'm Every
different.
Woman. I love both
Now
versions.
you think about that, right? You would never think who's going to take on a Shaka Khan song and who's going to take on her iconic "I'm Every Woman."
Right.
Then here comes Whitney Houston, and we're all like,
Oh, it's your song now too.
Oh, and then you're going to name check Shaka Khan in the song?
And bring her in the video.
Got it. Right.
No, I think with Whitney, the thing with Whitney is that she was the best pure singer of her generation.
Absolutely.
Okay, Whitney's problem with critics was that she was almost too good.
Well, it was very pop. Remember, black
Yes.
people from those first two albums
Oh,
were
remember
really
she was
disappointed.
booed at the Soul Train
Because
Awards?
I forgot about that.
She was booed at the
because
Soul-
they thought
she was
you
too
have
white.
that voice and these songs are swinging so pop.
Yeah.
That it was really hard for people to reconcile.
That wasn't her fault.
But that's how I'm Your Baby Tonight album came.
Right. That's not her
along.
fault,
Yeah.
though. I mean,
But
that wasn't
Clive,
her- that
that's
was Clive Davis,
And
yeah.
listen, shout out to Clive. He knew what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
like, it was like when I, working with Matthew. Matthew Knowles understood that for Destiny's Child and to set them up for all of their solo careers,
Right.
to really be huge, that a pop audience was really important. He was always like, what is the pop noise?
Yeah.
What is the because
Sound of Young America,
because he
man.
knew doing that he could launch all of those girls and they could go on to do different things because they had that pop.
All right. Well, I don't want to. But the thing with Whitney, I think Whitney is the line in the sand now. I think now that Janet's in, the idea is, okay, we're no longer going to be like ridiculous about this rock and roll. It's going to be rock and roll. Whitney is a pure pop R&B singer. There were two dominant voices, in my opinion, in the late 80s, 90s. It was Whitney and Mariah, full stop. And I think the fact that she didn't write is inconsequential because there are tons of artists in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who didn't write, who didn't produce, and it doesn't make them any less impactful. That said, I don't know if she will get in, but I think she deserves to get in. I'll tell you.
I think she'll get in.
I think the MC5 has to get in. This is ridiculous.
But it's been 4 times.
I know, but I'm just saying it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I could care less about the Dave Matthews Band. I really could.
But in some weird shit because they'll
get in.
They'll get in because.
And the fans vote too. Keep in mind fans are the ones who.
And the one thing I will give the Dave Matthews Band, I've never been into their music,
Never.
but they have a fan base that will show up.
Yeah, whatever. So did Hitler.
Yeah,
Who cares?
but it's a different.
Oh my God, I take that back. Okay, Dave Matthews is a very nice guy, but I don't care.
But it's a different thing, and I think even a lot of those voters, they like Dave. They like him as a person.
Okay, I'll tell you who I do not think should be in. Okay, Doobie Brothers. No.
But they were impactful for who they are.
Yeah, for who they are.
But
For who they are.
But look what we're talking about. Look at what we're talking about.
I'm just saying, Doobie Brothers to me you don't hear any band today that is references the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, but we're talking Michael McDonald,
He does never done anything for me.
Okay.
Never. I mean, he's good, but
You don't like a white man with a salt and pepper beard who sings soulfully into a microphone?
No, I do. Soundgarden, I think, deserves to be in.
Okay.
But I mean, and there's also.
I was never a huge Soundgarden. But again, they also love them and Chris Cornell. I feel like all of the people who died of tragic circumstances are going to get in this year. I do. I think it's one of those things. I think they celebrate people like that once they die. They will give it to B.I.G.
Well, B.I.G., in his defense, B.I.G., this is the first year he's eligible.
And he's going to get in.
Yeah, I think so.
Whitney Houston will get in.
I think so.
And I believe Soundgarden will get in.
Yes, and also, they were the first grunge band.
And they want to celebrate those people who kind of left us
And
too
they were a
soon.
great band.
Yeah.
I think Thin Lizzy deserves to be in.
Okay, yeah, I can see
because black people.
that.
No, I'm fucking serious. Why the only black people?
But-
Why are we making it that only black people do R&B and hip hop?
This is very true.
And he's dead too, so that's good.
Yep.
I love Motorhead. I love Lemmy. There is a sparsity of heavy metal in the rock and roll. Judas Priest, wouldn't know Judas Priest if they fell on me, but I've heard they're good. Kraftwerk, to me, are you kidding me? What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I feel like
There is no nothing without Kraftwerk.
Do you know to me who is the most deserving person on this list?
Me?
Pat Benatar.
Well,
Pat and Neil, because Neil is also
who's
been
Neil?
nominated.
Oh, the husband. Yeah, but he's not nominated.
Yes, he is nominated.
No, it's
with
just
her.
him.
No. You vote, honey. You didn't read to see who was listed with Pat.
No, he'll get in, but she's the nominee.
Yeah, but he comes up there because I read.
I know, he's hot.
He's part of her band, so he will be.
I know, I'm saying, but the nominee.
But he will be in as well.
He's hot.
You know
Very
what I
good
mean?
looking.
So he will be in. They've listed her and him. And
She belongs in for me for 2 songs. Her version of Wuthering Heights, I think, is fucking killer.
It's great.
And We Belong.
that's great. But listen, I feel like those first 4 albums of her are pure genius. And Pat Benatar was one of the lone female rockers out there playing big arenas. And
Okay,
and
who
selling
else?
them
You know
out.
who else needs to be in the worst way? Todd.
Yeah.
Innovative.
Yeah.
Produced some of the greatest. Come on, produced amazing artists. Produced the New York Dolls. Produced Hall & Oates. Gave Hall & Oates that Philly soul sound. His singles are great. The fact that he's a weirdo really shouldn't play into it. Here are the 2 bands I could care less about. Guess the 2 bands that I could care less about. Just guess. Knowing you me.
Depeche Mode.
Oh God, could care less.
And who else is on this list? Let's see. 9 Inch Nails.
Ooh, could
did you
care
see-
even
Well,
less.
the crazy thing about 9 Inch Nails is they've had so many different iterations of the band that the only person listed is, so if he gets in, it'll just be Trip and nobody else.
Oh really?
Yeah. And there's a whole list. You see all the list of all the other people. With Trip,
I
it's just
could
Trip.
care less about them. Irritating, but I will. But it's funny because he had always been like, "This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I don't want to be part of it. It's bullshit."
They all
and then
say that, so-
no. Wait. Last year at the set, which I was at, he inducted The Cure, and on stage he said, "You know, I used to think this was bullshit, but now I understand it." And it's like, ka-ching, baby. You know.
Right.
Okay, but Depeche Mode never meant anything to me because I'm too old.
I like Depeche Mode.
I know. Everybody likes Depeche Mode, but they don't mean anything
No,
to me.
the thing is, they're definitely so. I just think of college when I think of Depeche
Yeah, I
Mode,
went to
you
college
know?
when I was in my
And
40s,
it
so I
was
totally
like,
don't
yeah,
think of them
so
at all.
I think
To
of
me,
Depeche Mode and that whole moment. And,
I need Pet Shop Boys before
Yeah,
Depeche
yeah,
Mode.
yeah.
But anyway, I think it's going to be interesting. It's always fun. I'm always, like I said, I take my vote very seriously. It's the highlight of my year. Seriously, and that just speaks volumes to how sad my life is.
But when I look at this list,
They have really good sandwiches.
Yeah, when I look at this list and it makes me really start to think about artists that I feel like are important that people don't talk about
Yes.
enough, and they feel a little undersung.
That's a brilliant.
bit.
You have been practicing
You know-
your segues in front of the
listen,
mirror.
I
am impressed with
I've been
you.
standing in front of the
What's
mirror,
your middle name?
and
Michael? Is your middle name Michael?
It's Montgomery.
Courtney Montgomery.
Courtney
Amy?
Montgomery
Why aren't you a
Anderson.
soap opera
You know what I'm
actor?
saying?
Oh
You know
my
what I'm saying?
God! Were
Well,
you
like-
named after Jack Montgomery?
You
Was
know.
your mother and all my children?
Yeah, my mother wasn't all my children fan, actually. But it made me start to think a lot about people like Luther Vandross.
Oh.
You know, and I think about his name never coming up, or even in today's conversation.
I think the conversation.
Yeah.
I think honestly, and then we'll. I think that the tide is turning in terms of people's I think that it's not that far off with Luther.
No, but here's my point. When today's modern R&B conversations, or even black music conversations, for some reason, no one ever brings up Luther Vandross. And when I think of his voice, no one to this day sounds like a Luther Vandross.
Nobody.
All of these young dudes, and there's some of them who can sing, they all have the same
No, they're
voice.
all the young guys are going for either some kind of R. Kelly or a Stevie-ish. Raphael is definitely a
Right.
stand. He's not a young guy in the game
Right.
anymore. But they're definitely taking, well, because all the young guys singing today, with the exceptions of a Sean Patterson
Mm-hmm.
or people who, not that he is old, but I don't consider him a newbie. Okay, sorry. Courtney, I wish we were. Courtney.
Wait,
Stop! Courtney is drinking water out of a mason jar with a wooden straw.
And a bamboo straw.
That's wood.
I'm trying to
It's
save.
wood.
I'm trying to
And
save the
he had
motherfucking Miss
the
Environment.
Audacity.
I am
He
trying
had
to save the motherfucking Miss Environment.
to accuse me of being too white when I asked him if he could like tone down the incense because my allergies are kicking. He is sitting here sucking water through wood like a fucking woodchuck.
Save the planet, plant a tree.
All right, whatever. Anyway,
let's go back
getting
to
back.
But
what I'm saying is that the reference for singing today is hip hop. It's a hip hop generation.
Yeah, a little
it's
bit.
more of it. So the phraseology is hip hop. The beats are hip hop. There's a guy coming on or a girl coming on. So that it's not bad. But Luther, like Whitney, but Luther was coming out of. It's when your references are girl groups and Aretha and the bigger than life female, mainly black, or Barbara Streisand.
Who he sang background.
Right. Or commercials, doing jingles and commercials. You're going to have a very different mentality towards making your music than if your references, let's get high in the studio and bring in a beat and bring in a... Now, he's, to me, totally, no pun intended, undersung, underappreciated. So good. So good.
I mean, and you think about all of the levels, right?
Do you like fat or thin Luther better?
I loved... I would probably say chubby at the beginning of his career,
Chubby.
Luther.
Never Too Much, Luther?
Right before, even before that, the Change album, The Glow of Love.
Glow of Love is the best song.
Glow of Love is just like...
Perfect, right?
It is perfection.
Perfection. It's not a bad moment.
Searching.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, he just sounds so good. And then you go into... He's supposed to do the second Change album.
Right.
They don't want to pay him as much as he wants. He leaves and then puts out his debut album, which is a hit, Never Too Much, which is just a brilliant album.
And it's I'm sorry, Never Too Much is a seamless. They could give seminars on that song.
Absolutely.
Like, here's a TED Talk on how to write an incredible song.
Absolutely.
And
see, he understood just phrasing. He understood how the background vocals. He understood where the music should come in, what should happen here, what should happen there. He was a stickler for it. He was amazing.
I think also because he was coming out of a very commercial, still coming out of that tin pan, alley, the New York City kind of thing, where it was a business in a lot of ways, in a good sense, and so you had to be economical with what you did. You didn't have. There wasn't that kind of money. You couldn't sit there in the studio and dick around all day.
Don't you have some crazy Luther?
Oh my God, my Luther story. Okay, first off, I have to tell you something really funny. I went to a wedding a million years ago of someone that we both know, so I won't say who it is. And it was a lovely wedding, but they were both like Christians,
right?
So there was Christian, like it was a dry wedding,
right?
And
oh, really?
Yeah, and one of our mutual friends didn't go, knowing it was a dry wedding, but and they were tailgating. It was ridiculous. But anyway, so at one point they had dancing, but it was Christian dancing, so only married couples. They weren't allowed to. I felt like I was having.
Wait a minute.
No, I felt like I was at one of those BET Sunday morning gospel ceremonies.
Sunday best.
Yeah. And they were doing like that Christian mummershans dancing with the hands.
Oh, the mime.
Yeah. It was fucking great. I'm telling you, as a white person, I was like, boom, I'm done. I never have to celebrate Black History Month again because this is insane. But it was Christian dancing, so you couldn't dance with each other unless you were married. So the person that I was with was my boyfriend. He was not, well, even that was negligible.
Right.
But we were not married. And so they're playing music and it's fine. And said boyfriend looks and he goes, what kind of black wedding is this? They're not playing Luther.
Right. Real talk.
And he had just died.
Real talk. That's the thing.
You're not playing Atlantic Star and you're not playing Luther? You have not been married. I'm sorry. This marriage. Okay, so Luther. So in I want to say 4 or 5 something, I had a career at that point. And I was writing for Entertainment Weekly and he was about to drop the Power of Love record. Okay. Which was seriously being positioned to cross over. Because the thing with Luther, like a lot of mainstream black artists like Gerald Levert, they could, like Donald Trump, could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and nobody would care. Right. Black people would fucking lose their shit. But white people would be like, who's that man eating a sandwich, shooting people? They didn't know who Luther was. They didn't care who Luther was. So this was a record specifically tailored, but it didn't really sound that much different. It was just a little poppier. Anyway, so a little poppier. So Entertainment Weekly sends me out to LA to interview. And they want me to it's a feature, right? They want me to kind of sort of ascertain whether he's gay or not.
Oh, yeah, that was that
Which,
moment.
I mean, I think it was like, like Barry, like, really? Okay, sure, yeah, he is. What does it matter? But whatever. So I just remember, like, I go to his house. He lives in Beverly Hills. It's exactly as you think it would be.
Oh.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
There's a movie theater where him and Elton hang out, and there's like David Hockney's on the wall everywhere, and there's a pool, and it's fabulous. And my friends are like, "You guys steal something from there." I'm like, "There was like, what am I going to steal?" Anyway, so he comes in. He had researched me. He had looked up past articles of mine.
See, that's a good old...
And he was impressed that, and he was very nice and stuff like that. But, there was no point in the conversation. I'd go, "So, Luther, top, bottom, what's the deal?"
And you would have been escorted right on out.
Right out. I wouldn't even got...
But
so anyway, and they were giving him the key to the city the next day. Mm-hmm. So I go to the event, and he was super nice. At the event, okay, you'll love this. Mm-hmm. At the event, blah, blah, blah. And this guy comes over to me, and I'm like, and he starts like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah. You gave me a review in Musician Magazine. It was really negative, and blah, blah, blah." Howard motherfucking Hewitt.
Oh.
For those of you...
Wait a minute. You're standing there at the Luther event, and Howard Hewitt comes over and starts reading you at the event.
Because I had written a review.
How fucking random is that?
And I'm like looking at him like...
You're like, what? What's happening?
First off, you made it into Musician Magazine, so shut up. Because nobody knows who you are outside of me and my editor,
right?
And the people who bought Shalimar Records, and they didn't care about you. They only cared about Jody and Jeffrey. Yeah. But anyway, but the funny thing is, so I do the article, and it's great, and my editors were like, "Well, did you figure out that whether he was gay?" And I'm like, "Did you?" And I said to him, "Do you want me to write the Luther the Big Fat Fag article? Because I say there's Hockneys on the wall.
Right.
He hangs out with Elton John, and he has Cabana Boys."
There were Cabana Boys?
There were Cabana Boys.
Were they hot?
Duh. Why else do you have a Cabana Boy?
You know how I knew Luther Vandross?
Filipino Cabana Boys.
Everything about this story is starting to sound wrong. Do you know how I figured out Luther Vandross?
And what you mean by wrong is incredible.
Yeah. Do you know how I figured out Luther Vandross was gay?
You saw him having sex with a friend of yours?
No. But there was a restaurant in Chelsea that I used to go to.
Called?
It used to be called Claire. It was on... The old Elmo on 7th Avenue between 19th and 20th. Elmo is the restaurant. It's there now. It's on 7th Avenue between 19th and 20th. It used to be a restaurant called Claire, and then it changed from Claire to Chelsea Lobster Company.
Okay.
And I used to hang out. That was one of my spots. I would
Right.
go, that was my after work, after Sony, go there, have a drink every Sunday for brunch. I was in there one Sunday for brunch.
Okay, Sunday brunch,
And,
Chelsea, duh.
Yeah. And... Here's Luther Vandross with a friend, because he used to come in there having brunch.
He's from Chelsea.
But no one bothered him. Nobody would ever bother him. There was this black woman who she was really respectful. Black women love Luther Vandross. So she waited for him to finish eating.
Nice.
He was getting up. He went to leave. So he's at the restaurant's packed. He gets up. He's at the door with his friend about to go out. So she gets up to come over to tell him how much he loves her.
She loves him. Right.
And he turned around and was such a mean queen to her in front of the entire restaurant. That's when I knew he was gay. Because I said, the way he did it.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah,
no,
I didn't like the way he did it. I remember thinking, only a queen would react like that.
See, I saw him at Madison Square Garden during this tour when Lisa Fisher was his backup singer, and I'm sitting with a girlfriend of mine, and they're all wearing Armani. I mean, he's got these chicks wearing. And
he was Versace back
everything.
then.
Amazing.
Gowns, hair, makeup. Yeah,
and my girlfriend turns to me and she goes, "People don't know he's gay?
Right.
Have they seen him?"
Right.
Because actually, straight women don't react that way to a straight guy on stage.
Kind of, sort of, right?
With it's safe.
No, you see the way they act with him, Barry Manilow, Liberace. It's the same thing, right? They'd be like, "Oh my God!"
Because you can sit there and lose your shit without any fear.
Yeah, but that one moment, I was like, "Oh, Luther," and I was like, "No," and that's when I knew. I was like, "That's a mean girl, honey."
That's unfortunate.
But you know what I will say about that? That's what happens. I've noticed because I've worked around people and artists who are in the closet.
Yeah,
it's almost
you're
like
carrying a lot of. You're
carrying a lot of shit, and I felt like that let me know. Then I was like, he's carrying a lot of shit because that woman waited. She did not go to his table.
Aww.
He was walking out the door, and he was so in front of the entire restaurant.
Well, I would say one thing, and then I want to move on to. I'll talk about somebody, and then we'll go back to you. What I was going to say is, if Luther Vandross did nothing else in his life, and he did everything else in his life, but if he did nothing else in his life, his work on Bowie's Young American Records puts him, he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then some for that. Because there is no Bowie's Young American record.
His work on the Roberta Flack record with Donny Hathaway, his work with Bette Midler on her Thighs and Whispers album. Go and look up that performance of her singing Married Men on Saturday Night Live, and he's behind her blowing.
No, but I'm definitely saying, but I'm saying Bowie, who is like and Bowie acknowledges it, but I'm just saying I was very kind of disappointed when when he died that the obits didn't mention that, because if you are a person like me and Courtney who looks at the credits,
absolutely,
he arranged pretty much all that record.
He really did.
He did Win, which is like my fucking, and Fascination, which are like my two favorite songs on that album.
Let's talk about your people, Mink DeVille.
Oh yeah, Willie DeVille. I want to talk about Willie DeVille, and then we'll go back to, and then, all right. So I just love. First off, I should say that. I am a fan of junkie hijinks are some of my favorite genre of music, television.
You love it when they're tortured and creating torture art.
Some junkie hijinks. As long as I'm not personally having to support them or put up, or there's not stealing my silverware. There is something to be said for a junkie hijink as opposed to a meth hijink. Who cares about meth people? They're going too fast. They don't read. They're selling everything. But a good junkie hijink is. I'm sorry.
This show needs to come with a fucking disclaimer.
Yeah, I'm old and I don't give a fuck.
It's so inappropriate.
No, and I'm not condoning the use of drugs, but what I'm saying...
but if you are, please just write and record your albums so I can listen to them.
No, I'm not... no, there's been a lot of bad heroin records, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the fact and ethos. All right, anyway, so Mink DeVille was the band, Willie DeVille was the artist. Actually, that's not even his real name. Which is even more fabulous.
Right.
He was just this absolutely scintillating conversation of we're talking about the influences. These are the school of people whose soul influences were like Benny King.
Real talk,
Ronnie Spector, The Romance. He was all a creation. It was all a creation. He had the pencil mustache and the hair and the roach stomper boots, and he had a girlfriend named Toots who stuck a knife in Keith Richards' face once. If you're scaring Keith Richards, and the tattoo before everybody had a tattoo, and he was just like
the pompadour, pointy shoes,
and presented himself as his Latin lover when in fact he was like I think he was from like Connecticut and he was Irish. He kind of came out in the beginning and was CBGBs, but he was not a punk act. It was sort of like
that's the thing that's interesting about his story.
Yeah,
because he was lumped in with all of those
like Tom Petty was lumped in with punk rock, and he was not a punk singer. He was lumped in, I think, because he was very New York,
and they played there for 3 years.
And they played there, and they also played San Francisco a lot. They were in San Francisco, but I saw him perform solo twice, and I actually saw Mink DeVille in like 78, 77 in San Francisco a long time ago. They were just mesmerizing, and the songs are just, imagine if West Side Story were a rock and roll record.
Right.
Just dramatic and romantic, and the girls are being walked home, and he's channeling Edith Piaf, and it's all just drenched in like this fabulous New York junkie melodrama. Right. Anyway, I think he's one of those guys. His albums with Mink DeVille are just perfect. They're beautiful records, beautiful capsule, but timeless. And his Willie DeVille records, Le Chat Bleu, is just a beauty. He got nominated for an Oscar, actually, for a song that he did with Mark Knopfler for Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
He was sort of a victim of his own issues, I would suppose, but Le Chat Bleu, and he did a really great record. He lived in New Orleans for a really long time.
Yeah, he did.
And I interviewed him there, and he would walk around the streets of like the French Quarter like Zorro.
Right.
He had like a cape, and he was just uber over the top. We went to, what bar did we go to? The Napoleon Bar, and he played, because a woman there played piano. He sketched me, actually. He made a sketch of me, and it looks nothing like me. It's
Do you
just
still
like,
have it?
Yeah, it looks hideous. It's really depressing.
Yeah, but that's a great thing.
I know, but it looks nothing like me. It's really upsetting. But he did this great record of New Orleans classics. What I loved about him, and I love about the other artists I'm going to talk about later, Robert Palmer and Luther for sure. And it's not that new stuff isn't great, but these were guys and women who were entrenched.
It was based in something.
They were at the foundation of R&B, the foundation of the blues, the foundation of New Orleans music, the New York Dolls, girl groups, and the Supremes. They worship this shit.
Yeah.
So if that's what
Which
you
is
hear,
why those records worked in Europe and did not work here.
Yes. Willie DeVille is massive.
Yeah, those records really worked in Europe and did not really work
Spanish Stroll was a top 10 hit in Europe.
Right.
He could walk down the street. He could have walked down the street in New York City.
And nobody would know who
Not
he
in New
was.
York City, but in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So I just always loved him, and he's somebody where it conjures up a particular time in my life. And like I said, it's that romance. It's that kind
So
of...
we're suggesting some albums for people.
I would say Le
Which one would you
Chapeau.
say should they start with?
Le Chapeau. The first Mink DeVille record.
Right.
The first Mink DeVille record, and then Willie DeVille, Le Chapeau.
Yeah.
Le Chapeau is just it's just gorgeous. It's like a late night, that love is about to walk out the room. It's highly stylized. It's over ridiculous.
Have they ever been
No.
even
Well,
brought
he's
up
dead.
but have they even been brought up in the room? Are they? Because you would think
No.
that room sort of like
Not
the ball
that,
of the,
totally.
that
Not that
somebody
I
would
can,
bring them up.
Not that I can remember. Not
Right.
that I can remember. But I mean, he's just. I have to think somewhere, and I can't prove this, that Nick Cave was listening to him too, just in terms of presentation.
I can see that.
So Nick Cave is much more poetic in a real sense, and a serious. But the presentation, it was just this. Yeah, he was just great. Great live performer. Very tragic. He died young. I think he had a brain tumor or something like that. But no, a real loss. So I would say Willie DeVille. You should check him out. Very much a time in New York that will never come back.
No, well, those years are gone. Which brings me to my next person, which is Gwen Guthrie. I feel like for a lot of people, Gwen Guthrie has been reduced to one song.
Right.
Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent, which she wrote and produced herself.
See, people don't even know that.
You know what I mean? She wrote and produced it herself. But when I think of Gwen Guthrie, she's another one who wrote for Aretha Franklin, wrote Benny King's big comeback song when he had his Supernatural Love, and the follow-up single. She and her boyfriend wrote those songs.
I mean, Supernatural Love. Check that song out, kids.
Which is his big comeback.
That was the comeback.
You know?
That's the song that took him from being Rose in Spanish Harlem guy to like a contemporary singer.
When I think of her, go back to her first two albums and working with Sly and Robbie. I mean, working with the Compass Point sessions before Grace Jones worked with the Compass Point.
Oh my God, she died on my son's birthday.
Yeah, it's like her music defined a whole era of my youth. My first club was the Paradise Garage.
Shout out.
Gwen Guthrie was the queen of the Paradise
More
Garage.
than Lolita Holloway?
Oh, it was Gwen. Yes,
wow.
Because Larry Levan loved Gwen, and he started working with her. And like I tell people, if you really want to have a real moment of soulful dance music that really was impactful and still is, go to her second album, Portrait. It has all.
Is that when she was on Island?
That is Portrait. I believe is on Island. And Portrait is on Island. And that's the album that has Hopscotch, Seventh Heaven, Peanut Butter, Padlock.
It also says something about, and not to take anything away from her talent, but it says something about her importance that she was on a label like Island.
Absolutely.
Because Island was one of those labels, Chris Blackwell's Island Records, home of Bob Marley, home of U2, home of a lot of really important bands. They were a boutique label in a way, and they didn't have any filler.
No, it was like U2.
Grace Jones, right?
U2's first records, those records were Island.
Right.
And then Grace Jones was Island.
Right.
And
Sly and Robbie were Island.
It was very sort of an eclectic group of people. And I just think those records are really important. And
I'm going to go and listen to her because I only know those two songs.
No, you need to go listen to Outside in the Rain and Hopscotch and listen to the Larry Levan LeVan versions. On Portrait now digitally, there's the Larry LeVan mixes in the album. And it's just amazing, soulful club music. It's written well. She sings well. You know, and I think that these artists are also important, and we need to highlight them, and people need to know about them, and it's not just the same usual suspects that you always hear. It's so interesting. I go to all of these parties and I hear DJs, and they're always like these old school parties, and nobody ever plays Gwen. And I'm like, how did you skip all of these songs and you're just playing the same usual suspects? I'm like, this is foundational club music.
Well, I think that's
foundation to house music clubs.
Yeah, it's like a diva. You don't hear her very often.
No, you don't ever hear those Adiva records anymore.
And those were fucking awesome.
They're still brilliant, amazing.
I saw her at the Apollo once.
You know,
it was her, Shaka, Lolita Holloway,
Fierce.
Martha Wash,
Fierce.
and Crystal Waters.
You know what I'm saying?
There wasn't a gay person in the city. They were all there.
You know,
if that place caught on fire, there would be all there. It was. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I think people do. I think one of the downsides of the digital era is that we're in such a rush to hear the new that we're totally though. The thing is, one of the upsides is the digital era.
All right there.
It's all right there.
It's all right there.
You know, and you don't even have to pay for it.
Right.
Just fucking listen to it.
So what about you and Robert Palmer?
Robert Palmer. All right, there are two great Robert Palmers. There's the writer Robert Palmer, the late Robert Palmer, who wrote for the New York Times. He was a wonderful writer.
Did you know him?
No, but I was a big fan, and I actually have met his daughter, who's a lovely person, who's a filmmaker. But and then there's the singer Robert Palmer, and Robert Palmer, the singer. Probably the worst thing that ever happened to him was to have a huge hit with "Addicted to Love."
Right. In that video, which defined a whole MTV generation. In that video.
So Robert Palmer, "Addicted to Love" is a great song.
Yes.
But it is like a tenth of what he was capable of.
Right.
He defined, much like Brian Ferry, in that kind of, though he is technically a better singer than Brian Ferry, but Brian Ferry in that persona, the British guy, the gent with the suits.
Right.
And Robert Palmer's love for black music was... you just couldn't deny it.
Right.
And his love for the rhythm, his love for the beat. I don't know a lot about his beginnings, but I do know, I'm assuming he came out of a blues soul thing, because a lot of these British guys do.
And they loved that Motown sound.
They loved it. It was huge.
Especially for a certain generation.
Yeah, the Northern soul stuff. They
love it. It's like the early Stones when they were more bluesy, you know?
Totally.
That whole energy,
Totally. So the Brits have always done a really interesting job with American black music. I think it's a whole I think because they don't have the cultural weight that white Americans do. They don't have to. The appropriation question never comes in when you're British. It's strictly homage.
Right.
But anyway, Robert Palmer was just really elegant, and he had these suits, and he had the blonde hair, and he was really debonair. And his first album, Sneaking Sally Through the Alley, was produced by Alan Toussaint. And Lowell George of Little Feat, and Palmer himself. Palmer wrote a lot of his own material, but he covered Lowell George and he covered Alan Toussaint, and it's just rhythm.
Who, for you kids out there, he is the person. Alan also produced the Nightbirds album for LaBelle, which had their biggest hit, Lady Marmalade.
And the Pointer Sisters, Yes We Can, and it is one of the...
Let me...
Oh, yep.
Don't... Are you trying to... You're going to make... Now, you know... I gotta play that shit as soon as this show. That's my fucking song.
Oh my god, it's the best. And his Alan Toussaint is there is like no American music with Alan Toussaint.
It's a whole
and Little Feat is a great band. And
I didn't realize that about Robert Palmer. You're schooling me on some stuff. About
that first album is all Little Feat, Lowell George, and Alan Toussaint. And then his second album, which I believe is called Some People Can Do What They Want. He also had this very sexy kind of image. His album covers always had like these hot girls. Yeah. And he's like, I think the album cover for this one is like there's a naked girl and he's kind of checking her out, but you don't see her. They were misogynist, but whatever. He can get away with it. He's cute.
It's the 80s.
It was the 80s, yeah. Nobody was dying yet of anything.
Right.
He covered Pressure Drop by Toots and the Maytals. He was on Island Records.
Well, see, there you go.
He had a recording studio in Compass Point in Nassau. So
he did?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Compass Point that's where he was. So he was getting a lot of those influences
And that
from down there.
island energy and that
He
rhythm.
had that. So he was doing. He did Pressure Drop. He did Some Girls. He did a lot of reggae. He did a lot of reggae songs. He covered The System. You Are in My System.
He sure did.
He covered I Didn't Mean to Turn You On by Sherelle.
Which was amazing.
Amazing.
And then with Bernard Edwards, they do the Power Station.
But even before that, he did Looking for Clues with Chris and Tina from Tom Tom Club, and it's one of the first kind of electronic electro dance, mainstream electro dance. And to bring it full circle, Brian Ferry covered Johnny and Mary on his last solo record and had worked with Robert Palmer.
Right.
So it's that circle, the same greats. These are the guys that attract the amazing musicians.
Absolutely.
The Bernard Edwards, the Nile Rodgers.
Right.
All these guys want to work with these guys because they're pure singers. And I would say that...
And they know the reference, so they're coming at it from a place of... There's a reverence for that reference, and then you're bringing it to a new place.
Right, because Power Station, from what I've read, was they wanted to do Chic. That was their first time. Right. And Chic has always said, Nile Rodgers always said they wanted to be a cross between the Sex Pistols and Roxy.
Right. I can see that too.
So, yeah, totally. But Robert Palmer, to me, if you had to listen, I would say listen to Sneaking Sally Through the Alley, just the singles, the title song, and then listen to You're Gonna Get What's Coming. It is one of the... It's just misogyny with a great beat. It's what Hall & Oates thought they were doing with Maneater.
Right.
Except so he's a great singer, and I think that he gets forgotten. Everybody we're talking about is dead today.
I know. Well, so that we can switch it up.
Find me a living person.
I am going to find you a living person. Let's talk about your new lover, your new boyfriend, and his new single. Because I'm kind of enjoying.
Wait, I have to wait.
Yes, you have to see her, guys. She just shifted herself.
I shifted myself.
Her hair.
I'm pushing
She's
my tits up.
tits.
I'm doing everything. Hold on. Let me lick my lips. Let me lick my.
She loves this dude, Harry Styles, dude. Like Amy Linden.
Yes, I'm old enough to be his fucking grandmother.
Amy Linden is
Love
a
her.
One Directioner. She loves her.
No, because I'm not on Team Liam. And I know their names, so I did like, what's his face's single? The one with Zayn? The one with...
The first one, the Pillow Talk?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a good... Listen, that first album was really good, but the thing about Zayn is he didn't... It's like he's weirded out about being a star.
Yeah. He doesn't have the personality, and his hair's not as good as Harry Styles.
Okay.
All right, let me tell you, I have one really fast Harry Styles story, and then we'll just talk about how great this song is and how great the last album was. Though, I mean, he doesn't need our help because he's a major... Oh, look, Courtney's drinking water through wood again. I'm sorry.
Save the planet tree.
All right, I have a water bottle. Okay, so Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Last year, I'm there because I wrote an essay, the Janet Jackson essay. I'm losing my shit because Roxy Music is going to play. I have put on, I think I told you this, dressed up.
She put on a dress,
and
she had makeup.
Well, you have to wear a dress. It was black tie.
She was ready.
Because I thought I was going to meet Brian Ferry, and Brian Ferry's going to look at me and go, oh my God, why have I been dating supermodels old enough to be your third cousin when I could just have you? So anyway, delusion. Okay. So Harry Styles inducted Stevie Nicks. And he wears these ridiculous his outfits are ridiculous.
Well, they're all Gucci designs, all of them have design. That was his Gucci moment.
Well, they're ridiculous, but they're adorable. Only he could get
that was his British male rock star.
They're ridiculous. He looks like he fell into something.
I actually like his clothes.
I know, they're ridiculous. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're ridiculous.
But I want ridiculous. I want my rock stars to be ridiculous.
No. I don't want my accountant to look like that, but you can be a rock star. But anyway, so he comes out to introduce Stevie Nicks. And I didn't know that,
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at a table with mainly...
Didn't he sing with her? Didn't they sing Stop Dragging My Heart Around?
No.
The
fucking stupid ass Don Henley.
Oh, yeah, who's actually on the song. Okay,
who's horrible. Anyway,
you
whatever.
don't like Don Henley?
No, Don Henley must die. Fuck him and Glenn Fry. That's what the song is. All right, let me finish my Harry Styles. So anyway, Harry Styles come out. I'm sitting at a table with pretty much all guys. There's only one other woman there, and they're all like rock critic guys, blah, blah, blah. And I come out and I go, oh my God! And they all turn and look at me, except for Jim Farber, who I love more than life itself.
I'm obsessed with Jim Farber.
Yes, I know, Jim, please. Listen to you have to come on our show. We love you so much.
Farber.
But anyway, they all look at me like, me. Oh, look at you. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You guys have been creaming over fucking Stevie Nicks. Harry Styles, this is exactly how you're supposed to react when Harry Styles comes out. He's adorable. Okay, Harry Styles. So what was the first album called? Harry Styles.
Harry Styles.
Oh. Great record, very kind of 70s.
What was it called? Sign of the Times.
Whatever. Harry
That
Styles.
was a single, but I think the album was...
Anyway, first off, he can actually sing. It appears that he can actually sing.
Yeah, he seems to have a vocal ability.
He seems to be funny. He was very good in Dunkirk. Did you see Dunkirk?
I did not.
Oh my God, so heavy. I'll tell you how it ends. We win the war.
Oh, okay.
Whee!
Did he sing the theme song?
Yes, we win the war. Okay, so I see him on chat shows, as they say. Because you know one of my things when I'm sad and depressed, which is like pretty much all the time now, I watch John Mulaney specials to cheer myself up, and I watch the Graham Norton show.
I love the Graham Norton show.
Because I feel like, why don't we have a show like this where a really fucking bitchy, hilarious queen is running the procedures, and they all seem like they're drunk.
Isn't that Watch What Happens Live?
Yeah. But they don't. They seem like they're all drunk on the show, and I like the fact that they're all sitting together. But anyway, so he seems good. So his new single? What is his new single called? I'm obsessed with
Lights On or Lights Up? I think it's Lights On.
Lights On. Okay, so tell them about how it was released and what
Lights Up.
Lights Up. Tell them what the kids are saying about it. That it was released on Coming Out Day.
Oh wait, was it released on Coming Out Day?
It was released on Coming Out Day. Another day I forgot to thank you.
Everything I kept seeing was everybody was just losing their shit over the video. That's how I knew it had dropped.
Yeah, the video he's got no shirt on and people are licking him.
They're just like, people are screen grabbing things on their screen and they're just like, please,
licking. He's got a good body.
Please. Listen.
He's also 12.
But I'm so not mad at him because to break out of that boy band thing is a really hard thing to do.
It is.
And I was really surprised by the first album. I was like, okay, this is a solid debut.
It's a real record.
And then when he came with this one, I was like, oh, you're not fucking around. You're like,
he wrote it, right? I think he wrote
I think he wrote it.
I think he actually does write.
Listen, there's some of these new kids that I'm really fucking with. I think he's talented. I think Summer Walker is talented.
Who's Summer Walker?
You know,
with the eyebrows.
Okay.
All right, I've heard the names. You know, I have a lot of things I need to do in my life.
We're not going to do this with you not knowing who the kids are that everybody's loving.
Is it a boy or a girl?
She's
What? Okay, can we continue?
No, we are continuing, and don't cut me off.
I'm sorry.
Summer, just like Harry, Summer is a really important young urban artist, and she is the hottest young black. Her and HER right now are the two hottest young black artists.
She American black girl?
Yeah, she's an American black girl.
Let me see a picture of her.
She's American. I sent you the album. See, this is what I know you don't listen to stuff.
Listen. Last week, my computer crashed and died. And you know why it crashed and died?
Why?
I had too much fucking music on my hard drive. So I have.
Is that what they told you?
Well, I didn't have a hard drive anymore. I literally got a warning sign going, bitch, bitch, bitch.
You called me. You were like, what does it mean when it has a circle and it just has a slash through it?
And then what does it mean when there's a file with a question mark?
I was like, that's not good.
It's not good. All right, I will listen to her.
You must listen to her.
I must. Ooh, she's kind of boobalicious.
Okay, yeah, we like.
But the thing about Harry Styles, which I really do love, and all joking aside, him being cute, that and 50 cents will get me on the subway.
Yeah.
Who fucking cares? He seems to understand that he's a pop star and he's not taking himself too seriously.
I love that he seems to love it. I can't stand,
I hate people who are like,
I hate the fucking tortured pop star thing. Here's the real deal tea. You don't have to be tortured.
Not at all.
You don't have to do this.
Not at all.
You can not sing.
You
could go get a regular job and just sing at your local pub on the weekends. Don't have to sing.
To quote Biggie Smalls, UPS is hiring.
You know what I'm saying? It's a privilege to do this shit. So when I see the people and they're always like, oh, my life is so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard.
So what Harry reminds me of, when we were talking about this, Harry, it's interesting that Harry is blowing up and doing really well, and Robbie Williams couldn't buy a fucking clue in this country except with critics.
Yeah.
And I loved Robbie Williams, and I think part of the reason that Robbie Williams couldn't buy a clue in this country is Take That was never as huge as One Direction.
Take That had one song that
the breakup song when they broke up,
right?
Back for Good, which I love.
No, it's a great song. I like Take That.
Yeah, I like Take That too. I know. Yeah. Well, we have this in common.
Yeah, I like
we have one of the happiest moments of my life was in Stockholm and walking into a mall because it's freezing there. So you spend a lot of time in malls. And guess who was doing an in-store appearance? West Side.
Well, you shocked the shit out of me when you were like, did I ever tell you that I saw Sugar Babes?
Oh, yeah,
I was
I
like,
saw them.
You saw the Sugar Babes?
I did. And
I love the fucking Sugar Babes.
Not only did I see the Sugar Babes, I saw them in Berlin, and I was the only one singing along, and there was all these like cool people from Adidas and all these like artists, and they're all looking at me. I'm like, what?
You're like, it's the fucking Sugar Babes.
It's the fucking Sugar Babes.
Yeah, they were dope. I like Sugar Babes a lot.
I know. I couldn't pick a Sugar Babe out of.
Oh no, I can't pick one out of the lineup. But I really like
I was
their
like,
song.
are you a Sugar Babe? Or are you a Danity Kane?
Right.
Or who are you?
Are you a Diet Sugar Babe?
Yeah, who are you? I have no idea.
They started switching them out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Menudo. They
Right.
reached a certain age and they're like, out, Sugar Babe, be gone. Sugar Babes, by the way, produced by Cameron McVeigh.
Brilliant.
That's the album I like because that's that's the arty record. But anyway, Robbie Williams to me was like, why? What isn't computing? He's good looking.
It's U.S. radio.
Yeah, good looking, great songs, great pop songs.
Yeah.
I think Americans don't like or understand self-deprecating.
Right.
Canadians understand it. The Brits understand. I think Americans are too egomaniac.
Except the weird thing is he does have an audience here, and he just did a sold-out Vegas residency. They had to add more dates.
That doesn't surprise me.
People love him. So there are your people who are like, we fuck with Robbie here. He's got that small, like Kylie Minogue. Kylie Minogue for a long time.
Wait, when you say the word Kylie Minogue, you know that somewhere an angel gets its wings.
Kylie Minogue, my patron
She's
goddess.
your patron saint.
You know I live for Kylie Minogue.
No, I know.
But you know she's got that small like radio. Not really fucked with. She's another one who has had perfect pop songs.
Well, listen, Robbie Williams, we don't have to do a tag sale for Robbie Williams. He's fucking stinking ass rich. He's one of the richest performers in the world. But I never got the chance to see him, and he was supposed to be the next big thing. And I think what fucked him up is, again, self-deprecating. We don't get it. British, we don't speak British in this country.
Right.
We don't understand a lot of the British take the piss out of things. We don't take the piss out of things here unless you're a New Yorker. And when he did that video where he was tearing his skin off and he was a skeleton underneath.
Rock DJ?
Yeah, you can't sell yourself as a sex symbol. Me too.
Yeah,
but you can't sell yourself as a sex symbol.
Right.
I sing Millennium in my head
Millennium's
all the time.
Angels. There was a lot of
everything
great songs.
that Jessica Simpson covered. Remember that?
I was at Columbia for that. Let's not.
I did the bio for that record.
Let's not talk about that.
Bless her. Bless her.
Like, okay, bless her. All right, so we need to start wrapping up. So I know that you have a book that you want to talk about.
I want to talk about my friend. All right, my friend Holly George Warren, speaking of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Shout out to Holly.
Shout out to Holly. We have known each other for many, many years through many iterations of our lives. She is an absolutely fantastic writer, and she has written several music biographies, one of which about Alex Chilton, and her newest one is about Janis Joplin. It's called Janis. She has worked on this thing for years. She has had the cooperation of the Joplin family, which is major.
That's really,
I'll tell you why this book is so good, other than the fact that it's so good. I know Janis Joplin is important. I know she's a great artist, but she doesn't matter to me in the sense that I was young when she came out. I understand her importance, but she doesn't matter to me. At the end of this book, I was like, I got to go back and look at this woman's stuff. I got to really reevaluate. This book is so good that as you're reading it and you start seeing the dates, you're like, she's going to be dead in a month.
Right. Wow.
So it is a fantastic book. Holly George Warren. It's called Janis. Please. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I can't recommend it. It's a good read.
So, we usually end the show with a segment, what stupid shit did Megan McCain say this week? And it's not always a Megan McCain thing. So I just have a little statement I want to make. And it is about, there have been a lot of different things over the past couple of weeks with different celebrities speaking out about causes and issues. And I really want to say to people, stop taking your social and activism cues from people whose job it is to sell you something, because you will always be disappointed.
Yes.
So, I'm not even going to go into the specifics of who and what, but there's just been a couple of people, and I'm like, you know what? Everybody, do your own research. Pay attention to what's going on, and stop taking cues from people whose job it is to sell you something. Because eventually, when things come in their lane and it comes in a lane that can mess with their money, don't be surprised by the result that you see in the end.
But Meghan McCain did say a lot of stupid fucking shit because she's a fucking stupid. Meghan McCain cannot say a sentence without mentioning her father and that she speaks for conservatives. But her husband's Puerto Rican. Did you know that?
I will tell you,
I saw him and Bill Maher last week, and I'm looking at him, the husband. I'm like, where are
Amy
you Puerto
and I
Rican?
both had the same moment when she was like, and I'm married into a prominent Puerto Rican family.
And we were like, what?
It was like, wait.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
When did you marry a Okay.
Yeah.
And on that note,
we thought she married someone in Menudo.
Yeah, and next thing you know.
Oh, wait a minute. Talk about that. For those of you who are going to be listening quickly, aren't we doing something fabulous on the 17th?
So, on the 17th, kids, I'ma Let You Finish will be on Bevelations with Bevy Smith.
We love Bevy.
Sirius XM channel 102, and we will be on the shows from 5 to 6, so tune in. October 17th, which is this Thursday.
Yes.
And if you've missed it, well, hopefully you're a Sirius XM subscriber, so when you're listening to this later, you can go back and always listen to our show
I didn't know that. That's fabulous.
Yeah, if you're a subscriber, you can go and listen to all the old shows. So
festive.
Once the 17th passes, if you're a subscriber, go back and listen to us. We'll be on the October 17th show. We got some shit to say with our good old girl Bev.
And next time we're going to talk about 90 Day Fiancé, and you will not shame me.
Oh, God. All right.
All right. You know what, Courtney? We did it. We did it.
We did it.
All right.
Black Oprah and White Gail are out.
Bye.
Peace, kids. Bye.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.